Good evening, children of the night. Many people suffer,
afraid to tell their stories.
Encounters remain locked away,
Like skeletons tapping on your closet door.
Join me, Blake Lewis, and my enchanting co-host,
Alicia Jones,
as we continue to delve into darkness, searching
through silence.
Was the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, except for us. We here in the silence chambers hope everyone is indulging in the joyous occasion and spreading as much love and cheer as they could potentially spread without spreading yourselves so unbelievably thin. Remember that we are all only human and must respect the fact that everyone has their limits. We tend to forget that the stresses that we ourselves are feeling around the holidays are felt by the collective. And unfortunately, sometimes we expect too much from others who are dealing with their own chaotic circumstances. Tonight's Christmas special is the perfect example of some individuals' bitter attitudes around the holidays and is the perfect, horrifying tale for the winter season. Tonight's frightful tale skips the ribbons and glitter and begins with a cold and bleak, bitter winter. Once upon a time, deep within the woods in a small town nestled amidst the snow-covered mountains, lived a terribly rotten little child named Damien. Damien was notorious for his cruel behavior towards his fellow classmates at school, picking on them and extorting their lunch money. Even worse, he treated his own parents and siblings like trash, causing them endless misery. His parents, at their wits' end, knew they had to take drastic measures to teach their son a lesson before he lost all sense of his Christmas spirit. One evening, after another incident at school, Damien's parents sat him down and delivered a stern punishment. They threatened to write a letter to the Christmas goblin known as Stitches, a mythical creature who resides in a magical lair. Stitches was said to possess the power to instill manners and kindness into misbehaving children. However, Damien, filled with anger and defiance, screamed at his parents that he didn't believe in Santa or Christmas, declaring that he could all shove it. Enraged, Damien stormed through his house, his rampage causing his little sister to burst into tears. He slammed his bedroom door shut, isolating himself from his family. Realizing they had no other choice, Damien's parents reluctantly sat at the kitchen table and composed a letter, begging Stitches for assistance in straightening out their unruly son. As the clock ticked away into the night, a chill wind blew through the backyard. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and a dark figure emerged from a tunnel, burrowing its way into reality. It was Stitches, clad in a black tunic, with an elf-like appearance that seemed to have crawled straight out of the depths of hell. His twisted grin sent shivers down the parents' spines as they realized the enormity of their mistake. Stitches approached Damien's parents with an air of authority, informing them that their summons had been answered, and he had come to claim the boy's dark essence. The parents, now filled with regret, tried to refuse, pleading for another way to teach their son a lesson. But Stitches, with a voice as cold as the winter wind, informed them that what was done, and that he must fulfill his duty. With a flick of his bony fingers, Stitches opened the door to Damien's room, revealing a dark void that seemed to swallow light itself. The parents, trembling with fear, watched as Stitches reached out his long, gnarled hand and beckoned for Damien to follow. Damien hesitated, his eyes widening with terror, yet knowing deep down that he had brought this upon himself. As Damien reluctantly walked toward Stitches, the goblin's black eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity. With each step, Damien's defiance and cruelty seemed to drain away, replaced by a glimmer of remorse and understanding. Stitches, recognizing the spark of change, nodded approvingly and led Damien into the depths of his magical lair. In the following days, as Christmas drew near, Damien's parents anxiously awaited their son's return. They hoped that Stitches had somehow succeeded in his mission to transform their terrible child into a kinder, more compassionate individual. And as the snowflakes danced outside their window, they prayed for the restoration of the family's Christmas spirit, knowing that sometimes, even in the darkest of times, there was still hope for redemption. As Damien was dragged through the dark and cryptic dungeon by Stitches, the air grew heavy with the antagonized screams of lost souls trapped within the chambers. Stitches, with a sinister delight, began to explain each torture room and the horrors that awaited those who refused to change their wicked ways after their first encounter with the naughty list chambers. The first room they passed was filled with an eerie glow of condemned souls that were suspended in mid-air, their limbs contorted in unnatural positions. Stitches described how these souls had been trapped in a perpetual state of disarray, unable to find rest and peace until they acknowledged their wrongdoings and sought for redemption. In the next chamber, Damien witnessed souls trapped in a never-ending maze of mirrors. Stitches explained that these souls were forced to confront their own reflections, their deepest flaws and regrets amplified, driving them to the brink of madness. Only by accepting their mistakes and seeking to make amends could they find their way out of this torturous labyrinth. As they reached the third chamber, the sight was even more chilling. Souls were engulfed in an eternal storm of their own fears and nightmares. Stitches revealed that these tormented spirits were haunted by their own guilt, forced to face their darkest secrets and deepest fears repeatedly until they confronted the truth and embraced change. Finally, Stitches brought Damien to the end of the hall, where an empty chair awaited his arrival. With a voice dripping with menace, Stitches warned the boy that if he did not change his mischievous nature, his chamber would be waiting for his inevitable return. Filled with desperation, Damien pleaded with the goblin that he could change, that he could prove himself to be a great soul. Stitches, relishing in his power, smiled a dark, twisted grin. He snapped his fingers, and a snowy wisp of magic whisked around Damien like a tornado, transporting him back to the exact moment he slammed the door shut earlier that night. As Damien found himself back in the present, he realized that he had been given a second chance. Filled with newfound clarity, he rushed out of the room, immediately apologizing to everyone he had wronged. He vowed to make amends, to be kind and compassionate, never again succumbing to the mischievous nature that he once found himself engulfed in. In that moment, Damien embraced his potential to become a better person, and the souls within the dungeon felt a glimmer of hope. The dark void that had threatened to consume him was replaced by a path of redemption and growth. And so, Damien's journey began anew, his heart filled with the determination to change and bring light to those he had once hurt. Well, it seems that even the most sour of souls is capable of redemption, even if it takes a little darkness to fuel the fire. For Damien, it was a brush with the other side that ignited his inner light. So remember, kiddies, before you roam about on a destructive path this holiday season, shed some kindness before you find yourselves in stitches from Stitches. Until next time, stay safe, sleep well, and keep your wits about you.